You have watched 50 hours of Playwright courses. Your GitHub is full of cloned repositories, and still you somehow cannot land the test automation job. And here's the brutal truth. Companies hire you not just for the knowledge of a tool, they hire you to solve engineering problems. And today we are going to discuss how exactly to prepare for this in order not to waste time on learning the syntax, but rather to learn what actually matters. Welcome to Testeroni. I'm Casper, and I'm here to help QA engineers become test automation engineers one slice at a time. Skill number 1 is system thinking instead of syntax. So most of junior engineers tend to focus too much on the syntax of a given tool. So they know by heart, they can recite by heart as if it were a poem, the list of commands needed for interaction with a given element using a given tool. So they know all the functions, how to click, how to wait, how to intercept, and stuff like this. So they focus 100% on the UI automation framework part of the equation, but they don't really understand what's happening. So when the interviewer asks them how the data actually travels from the form on the front end to the database, how is it stored, they have no idea. And let me be very clear here, you don't need to be a full-stack developer. You don't need to understand the underlying tech stack like to the T. You don't need to be able to actually create the whole architecture or build the microservices that govern all of this. But you absolutely need to understand the fundamentals, the high-level concepts that actually make the data go the way it does. So you need to understand the high concept of the architecture that you are testing. You need to know how to open the DevTools. You need to know how to read the network tab and understand the request and response payloads. You need to know the API status codes, and you need to know how the front end talks to the back end. So even though you understand like Cypress or Playwright, if you understand the vehicle, but you have no idea about the road itself, you still cannot drive it. A good automation engineer understands that UI tests are brittle and slow by their nature. So they will try to automate as much as they can using the API layer. You don't need to know how to build the app, but you need to understand at some high level, concept level of understanding how the pieces, which are parts of it, actually connect together. So stop memorizing locators and all the possible assertion types and start thinking at the system level. Skill number 2 is pipeline integration. So I see a lot of candidates trying to brag about the frameworks that they have built themselves on the laptop, and it's all fine and dandy, but the actual production environment, in enterprise environment, in startup environment, if you have a cool framework that only works on your machine, it's essentially useless to the team. So you need to ingrain that into your brain that you need to have the knowledge to run it somewhere else outside of your laptop. You need to understand the continuous integration pipeline and how to set one up. So I see a lot of candidates, when asked about how they would actually integrate the great framework that they are showing off on the interview, how they would integrate that into a continuous integration pipeline, they have no idea. And let me be very clear, similarly to the system architecture point, I'm not telling you that you need to become a DevOps architect to become a test automation engineer. No, but by no means. I'm not telling you that you need to know how to create the whole infrastructure around the DevOps operation of your company. But I am telling you that you need to know how to plug your tests into the already existing infrastructure. You need to understand how GitHub works. You need to understand version control systems, and you need to understand how to trigger the things that are contained there using like GitHub Actions or GitLab CI or Jenkins. You should know what a Docker container is and why we need them in the first place. Why do we need to ensure a clean environment using one? This is the ultimate filter for the modern engineer. This is the great filter in the QA interviews, from my opinion. This is what separates actual engineers from mere tutorial watchers. And skill number 3 is professional communication. And I don't want you to downplay the gravity of this point, because I feel like a lot of interviews fall short because of this point. And this may seem all woozy because it's not technical knowledge, but from my experience, finding the bug is actually like 20% of your job, and 80% is being able to professionally handle the situation that arises from having found that bug. The problem is many testers are actually acting as if they were gatekeepers. So they find an issue and they just want to throw it over the fence to the developers as fast as possible so that it's no longer their problem. But actually, they don't fix anything. They don't assure the quality, and this is inside your job title, and they don't assure the quality of the software by any means. They just want to throw it over the fence and say, yeah, it's not working, fix it. And this creates friction within the team and within the organization. And it's not so much about being nice, but I always vouch for being nice, but this is like a good human trait, not only a good QA engineer trait. But this is not so much about being nice, it's about being precise and performant within your language and communication within the team. This is a very easy way to separate between a junior and a senior engineer, because when you see junior, their reports sometimes look like the login page doesn't work, and that's it. And like, hallelujah. So that's not really a good report by any means. A senior engineer would actually provide you a concrete set of steps of how to reproduce that. They would tell you that the API status code is 500 when they try to input a special character inside the form, and they would provide you an actual payload that they're getting, like the request, the response. They'll give you all the data so that it is actually easy for the developer to narrow down the problem that they are facing. They can actually reproduce it very easily, and they have enough data that maybe just by reading this, they can actually start to understand, yeah, okay, I get it. There may have been a corner case within my code, and I now know how to fix this. So you can see the utility in it. Companies want to hire people that others will actually want to work with, because this decreases the friction, and it is very important. So can you write a nice bug report that neatly isolates the problem and allows people quicker debugging? Can you actually communicate inside the team so that when flaky tests start to pile up or start to act up, you are not merely pointing fingers at other people and delegating accountability away from you? Your ability to collaborate and clearly explain technical problems is just as important as your knowledge of how to write a loop in Java or how to declare a method in Python. Testing tools will always change. Some time ago, it was QTP in the prehistoric era. Then we had Selenium and all the things that stemmed from it. Now we have Playwright as the new kid on the block. So in the future, it will be something else. But as long as you are actually possessing the knowledge of system thinking, and you know how to integrate that within the infrastructure, and you know how to communicate clearly and professionally, your job is safe regardless of the technology that's trending at a given moment. If you want a clear step-by-step guide on how to actually structure your learning so that you escape this never-ending tutorial hell and you actually land your test automation job during this year, I really recommend you to give a watch to the video that should pop up on the screen regarding the roadmap for 2026, which is a video I already have up on my channel. So I wish you the best of luck with that, and until then, please remember to keep on rocking.